Hi guys, and welcome to October, and yay, we are in Libra transit. So happy birthday to all Libras, and let's see what's going on. So really quick intro about astrological constellations and everything that we need to kind of like work on. Guys, do not forget to check your ascendant and check your moon sign, because that's sort of like going to give you different aspects of yourself. And of course, if this jives with you, you can contact me for the private reading. So let's see what is the biggie happening in the sky. And my astrology is really different. You know, nobody's going to tell me this is the way you need to do, because to me tarot is like so much more potent than astrology. So let's kind of like move into that. This week, both Mercury and in tarot, we have the Magician representing Mercury, so you can actually see the energy instead of just me telling you about Mercury. It's going to move into Scorpio, and that fiery Mars is actually moving in Libra. So Mercury is really, as you know, during Mercury retrograde, communication issues. So yes, it kind of like symbolizes how we talk and think, and how do we really exchange things, how do we communicate, right, with each other, with ourselves, kind of like pulling things together. It kind of like really talks about what we do daily, talks about short trips, and also kind of like trade and commerce and exchanges like of that kind of like sort. Meanwhile, Mars, which actually it's not ruled by Emperor. Oops, wrong, because Aries is kind of like ruler of Mars, but Mars really, and this is going to be hell of a reveal when I tell you. For those of you who know, you already know which card I'm going to pull. This actually is Mars card, Tower. And so Mars is basically all about energy. So when it kind of like occurs in our charts, it's kind of like boosting the activity of this area. So let's put it in perspective, because Mars is now showing up during Libra transition, and this is Libra card. In the background, we just have Saturn that goes direct, that went direct, and so now, if you're on my newsletter, you knew that we actually shifted to new timelines. It was like few things simultaneously happening, and if you felt last month being kind of heavy, and you didn't know what's going on, and you felt like you're climbing the walls and you're just like falling flat down, there was a reason for it. Please sign for my newsletter so you will be in the know. So when we kind of like have the Mars coming through, it's kind of like boosting the chart in our in that area, right? Activity of that area. So we are going to start feeling shift in our daily habits and conversations, and we will become more active in kind of like that area where sort of like that Mars joins the sun, wherever your sun is, and just kind of like, you need to remember the secret of life is really having low expectations. With Saturn kind of like that went direct, there are like no procrastination anymore. I think summer was, most of us had the excuse it was the summer, of course, for those of us in northern hemisphere, but in the southern hemisphere, winter was excuse. It's winter, I don't feel like it's sluggish. So we both kind of had the same excuse. But this kind of like all ended on September 18th at 13 degrees Capricorn. And this Saturn is the Lord of Karma, and it kind of like does feel, Capricorn is his ruler, but it's almost like the middle finger, right, when it is reversed, right? So retrograde motion is basically time when karma is sorted out, because this is the planet of karma. And so therefore Saturn retrograde is a double dose of that karma. So if you guys didn't get karma reading with me, it's very intense. It really tells you, hey, this is what you did in past life, this is what you promised to yourself. With all the wisdom, you're going to kind of like drag in this one, you want to resolve it, you know, like when we can, today I'm going to really kind of like handle this. That's kind of like, it's the entire life chart. So when and what was happening, it kind of like felt that past and present and future kind of like blurred together. And if you have been in the past and kind of like dealing with that, you know, events occurred to teach us a lesson. And Saturn is generally difficult ruler. It's kind of like, did you learn it? I really need you to know. And when I ask you this question, when I wake you up from a dream, you will get it. Not only that you're going to tell me blah, blah, blah. So the lessons that have been associated with Saturn retrograde kind of like really relate to our thoughts and our words. Some of us decided, hey, I'm going to communicate better. I'm not going to be quick to curse. And you're going to see that people will be cleaning their language. People who didn't clean the language, who continues to kind of like be mean and jump quickly to conclusions and to judgments, these people stayed on different old timelines. So what does that mean? That means you still have issues, you didn't resolve them. The bad part is going to last 12 years. So ask yourself if you really shifted or you didn't shift it, or you're just simply repeating the old patterns from the past. This in particular is going to be especially challenging if you have history of teasing or verbally abusing people. And this is becoming very prevalent. All of us kind of a little bit guilty of that. Internet is like a sneaky place where you just want to, you dislike my nail polish. You dislike something. I'm going to just tell you. We need to kind of pull back with Saturn, because Saturn is telling us, really, is this really who you are? And now turning direct is giving us a much brighter outlook, especially for making really important decisions about your home, your family, and relationships. So ta-da, everything is here. And when we are going through Libra transit, it's really talking about a major transformation. So this is where we are almost like, think about it, we have building our case, we kind of like made advances, we kind of like are understanding the areas of life which you kind of like need to do it. The Tower is saying, okay, this is collapsing, and we need to collapse certain areas of our lives and say rebuild, rebuild, rebuild. But then, Mercury is saying to us, you can do it. You have all the tools. You have been through all the lessons. You just need to pull it together, and you need to detangle anything that has been going on. Look at how powerful this month will be. So let's just jump in and see what is particularly important for your own sign. Hello, my dear Geminis, and welcome to your October reading. So this is going to be time for fun, guys. October, Geminis, you like each other, kind of a thing. This is going to be one of your most and possibly very, very sexy months, or at least very passionate, which can kind of like apply to other things that kind of like matter to you, right? So it's going through Libra right now, so this is a sister sign, right? So it's going to basically light up your 5th house, and this means it's kind of like going to be very festive. Oh, this one was turned around, but doesn't matter, you're going to see it in a second. You kind of like really need to bring everything that you have, put freaking everything on the plate. I mean, full-blown kind of like personality, or actually you have 2 personalities, right? And kind of like take the stage. It's kind of going to be very important. I really think that you also have an agenda, and I think that agenda is actually romance, and this is kind of like very powerful. Ooh, for some of you, maybe you even started, and this one also kind of like wanted to come out. Mars is also very lusty, and it's going through Libra from October 4th to November 19th. And you guys, you'll be like attracting admirers and playmates. It's going to be really, really frisky. Also keep in mind that the 5th house is kind of like very fertile, right? So if you guys are basically of the childbearing years, yeah, you might kind of like get a knock on your door, and when you open, it's going to be a stork and saying, hello, I just really want to tell you there is an announcement. Who else do you really want to know? Where do you want to announce it? However, even though the planet Mars is in Libra, it is kind of like in exile or detriment, which means it's kind of like opposing, basically, right? Libra and Mars is native in Aries, and Libra and Aries are opposing each other, right? So Mars is a warrior, but kind of like when it's in that weakened position, right? Because Libra is a peacemaker, so you can see that contrast over there. So fifth house is also very reactive, so it can kind of like really make you act differently. You might be jealous, which can really start like working, like on October 3rd, where we also have Pluto, like kind of like bringing all these hidden things, it's like coming to the surface. It's like, what kind of a thing, right? So if you had something going on with someone that has been going, I don't know, maybe since April, particularly end of April 24th, which could kind of look like that you had something. Some of you, so you have 8 of Pentacles, 8 of Earth over here in this deck. Lovely deck. It's a mystical cat tarot deck. This deck basically inspired me to have a channel. You have a Sea Tom or a Knight of Cups, and then you have Earth Tom, and that would be Page of Pentacles. Some of you may have been in a school and you have maybe met somebody, you have maybe met an earth sign or water sign. So that kind of like would kind of like gel with that October 3rd planet of Pluto, where it's kind of like surfacing from retrograde in Capricorn, right? Which kind of like was really intense in your 8th house, right? So it was dealing with intimacy, it was dealing with shared possessions, right? It was also dealing with kind of like how to merge things or how to separate things. So it could have been that some of you have been done with one relationship and you have already started another one, yet the other one is still kind of like brewing somewhere. It was retrograde, right? So it kind of like meant that you probably went through some deep issues, such as thinking about soul searching kind of a thing. You kind of like start having a different attitude about yourself. Maybe you felt shame, maybe there was lots of codependency, and maybe you started to feel, look, I need to rebuild myself. I'm Gemini, I can do it. I have 2 of us. If one of them is on strike or calls in sick, the other one can actually really take over, right? That's why you have the 8 of Earth over here. 8 of Earth, look at this. Mommy Kitty is saying, okie dokie. Now you open your eyes. Now you kind of like can walk. I'll show you some fun stuff. I'll show you the nature and I'll show you how to hunt, right? But you cannot hunt all the time. Sometimes, you need to cuddle. Sometimes, like exposing your belly means feeling vulnerable, and feeling wonderful for some reason came out instead of vulnerable. It actually can make you feel wonderful. You are an air sign. It is very difficult for an air sign to be vulnerable because we express it differently. We really need to know. We need to know what's going on. We just cannot just say, oh, he's a complete stranger. He looks very murky. And look at those tattoos. Well, yeah, he or she is very sexy. But I kind of like am not sure about that. I ask one question and I get different answers. And this is like where the confusion starts. Instead of like moving toward love, you start moving into the gray area, which kind of like really happens. Also, when we are going through this Pluto retrograde, there's like also possibly that people are pushing the buttons, right? And sometimes this is normal. It's a part of karmic process because people need to push our buttons so we can reveal our weakness. So we need to repair that element kind of a thing, because they're almost like a mirror. They're reflecting us really this back, right? In that retrograde, and what I'm seeing over here, especially when I see Earth Dom, and look at this is kind of like taking care of what is really important. Pentacles are lovely sign. It kind of like, and you have Earth and you have Earth here, right? Earth and water. None of that are really a sign that element that you kind of like feel comfort with, right? But at the same time, this is very, very important for you, because this tells me that you have been reestablishing yourself. Maybe some of you did get a new job, or are getting a new job, and there's like something that you really, really love, and this is kind of like something that you feel it's going to be something that can take you further. It could be one of those situations where the job is not a job kind of a thing. So there was like a progress that I clearly see here, and I see that was a protection. It could have been a job, could have been studies, or some kind of courses, workshops, something like that, right? Now let's see, what else do we have. We have more pentacles. We have Seven of Earth. And isn't this crazy? Like the cat is looking at this hole, and we totally know that cat just is going to move its ears. You know how they go, like they notice everything, but they'll be looking at this if needs to be for hours. Safi, when she wants her treat, she's going to ignore the fact that I'm ignoring her. She'll be just sitting on the table, coffee table, and stare at me. Hours, I kid you not. It's kind of like really unnerving. So the central card is Death. Look at that. Isn't this a very kind of like sad card, but at the same time a very uplifting card? Kind of like, I'm taking you because all of your 9 lives are over. So far we have just water and earth, and then we again have earth, 10 of Earth. You might be dealing with family issues, guys. There's lots of money possibilities over here, and there is a karmic card, Good Kitty. So this is the Pluto that I was telling you, because Pluto rules Scorpio. We see it here and here. It is, you can see I'm talking, but things started to kind of like really develop. Then we have 9 of Earth. Here we have a 10, so 9 of Pentacles and 10 of Sea. You absolutely have no fire, and you absolutely have no air. So it's going to feel like you're completely out of your element. You're going to be a little bit of a horn dog, right? And I kind of like really would watch few dates, as I told you, right? It's around October 7th. You know, I think this is like where, you know, stubborn ability of Saturn might actually create that you're kind of like locking horns with someone. But this kind of like a battle of wills can literally mean a will. It literally can mean that somebody might die, and there's going to be inheritance as a result. That there was like something that was the result of a patient waiting of some sort. 10 of Pentacles is a really multi-layered card, because 10 of Pentacles is really telling us that this is now a family matter, kind of like whatever the family is. It could be literally your blood family, but it could be something about your company. It could be like Cosa Nostra, you know what I mean, right? So with the Scorpio so kind of like heavy over here in your chart, like, I mean, I need to tell a little bit more about Pluto, because Pluto is going to kind of like square that full moon in Aries. It is going to be October 13th. That's going to fall into your 11th house, and I can speak about the 11th house. That's the planet, that's basically the planet Aquarius. That's the house of groups, networking, and technology, right? That's the Aquarians rule that kind of like place, and friends. So that's going to be really something collaborative. I can see these groups here like so heavily emphasized, right? People will be on the same page with you. Look, everything is very positive. Like, there are like some monies arriving. There's like something happening, right? But Pluto is also very shadowy, right? And so you need to be careful with how much you reveal, because Geminis tend to be very transparent. You just go like, blah, just like we Aquarians, right? Like, we just put everything on the table, and then like we wonder like, why are these people really using this against me? Because people are just weird and eels, right? Pretty much, right? So I would really keep these matters under the wrappers over here. Keep it confidential, like call it my private intel kind of a thing, right? Until you learn more. Only if you and that person's goals align, then you are wrapping this a little bit more. Kind of like need to know basis kind of a thing, right? Do not clearly get enthused that you need some money, especially not with friends, especially not with family. This could also mean loans. This could mean that you're anticipating something and you're kind of like jumping the gun kind of in a situation. At the same time, this Pluto is really talking about strong sexual urge, where certain friendship maybe existed, maybe you're on a fence with something, and that full moon could actually bring a decision coming forward, right? So you need to address those issues, because definitely Death card is really talking about something has to end and something new has to start. This can be a very joyous kind of like thing, such as I told you, be careful about the stork knocking at your door. This could be, pregnancy, or you're no longer not pregnant, now you're pregnant, so something status changed, or you're pregnant and you're no longer pregnant, you're delivering child. So that's what I'm basically talking about here. But there is like sort of like some kind of friendship that has been brewing in the past. Maybe it didn't go far, like Pentacles are moving so slow. It's almost like I remember once when I was married, and I'm an air sign, I was married to a water sign, and I would like always pedal the gas when we were driving, and then he would drive, and it would feel like that ants would pass by us. How, oh, let's look left, let's look. Are you kidding me? Where is your, raising Aries, please, just kind of like, I'm going to die in a car if we continue like that. I don't want to spend all my life kind of like doing that. Kidding aside, right? So this is really talking about transformation. This is like telling you that something old needs to be shed. And in your case, it could have been that you had two love interests. One seemed to be a very romantic, right? It seemed to be very cuddly. This is like the proverbial King of Cups. He or she could feel very appealing to us air signs. Water sign appears to be very, very sexy. The other one more or less was somebody who maybe you share ideas or attitudes with, and who maybe kind of like almost like feels like that needs some kind of protection kind of a thing, right? So with this Eight of Pentacles over here, I really think through these two people, you have been formatting yourself through creativity. It could be somebody at work, it could be somebody at home, it could be somebody you just kind of like wink and like. But I do feel that during this month, you might actually go into friends with benefit status. So make sure that you don't do it sort of like in a compromise state, such as like liquid courage kind of a thing, because this full moon that is arriving is going to be highly hedonistic. This is like you are having double the whammy. Pluto is showing up here, is going to kind of have a clear indication of something going on. Like you have 8 and 7 of Pentacles, and then you have 9 and 10 of Pentacles. So 7, 8, 9, 10. There's like something culminating in terms of who you want to be, how you want to live your life, who you want to share your life with, right? Also, we are entering Scorpio on October 23rd, right? And this is then going from your 5th house to your 6th house. So this is about health, it's about systems, and it's about efficiency. It sounds like boring to you, right? I think if I was reading for Virgo, they would go, yes, right? And like we can see that all here really, really clearly, right? So all this kind of like lack of discipline that I think you're going to have in this like first 3 weeks or so is going to start like, oh, I need to sober up, right? Kind of like I think, and almost like going in the phase of less is more. I need to kind of like deal with that, etc. So that Scorpio new moon, I think it's October 27th. It's just like a few days before Mercury retrograde, and we need to talk about Mercury retrograde, you being ruled by Mercury. So I really think you will go in spring cleaning, even though we are in the fall. If you're in the southern hemisphere, it's going to be spring cleaning. So end of the month, October 27th, 26th, Tiger's birthday, my pup, right, who is going to be 1 year old at that stage. So that kind of like can be a little bit stressful. You kind of to try to kind of like get everything at the same time. As I said, some of you might be even moving, right? And October can be really tricky in many ways, because this could also tell me that maybe you have been spending lavishly and now you're asking your family to kind of help you, or asking your friends, just please resist this. This is not going to be good. But by the end of October, you clearly will be looking into, okay, how do I put some brakes on it? How do I really deal with this so I actually don't have those issues? And ta-da! October 31st, it's basically Mercury, which you know, it rules communication, technology, travel, but also how we interact day to day. So we have Good Kitty, Judgment, we have 9 of Earth, and we have 10 of Cups, right? You are having such a wonderful chart over here. Certain things might be happening that are so nice. Even somebody might go down on a knee and propose. These two with Karma card, oh la la. And specifically if it feels that you have been going through some really deep issues. Maybe somebody was dead to you, or you have been dead to them. And then it's going to feel like things are coming back, right? So Mercury is reversing through Scorpio. I think it goes all the way until November 20th, right? So in your 6th house, it's going to kind of like require from you to manage stress properly, right? So don't take more than you can handle. It looks like you bit such a big kind of like chunk that like right now like you are walking with kind of like mouth full of it and not sure really how to kind of like deal with this, right? So I would also say then when this retrograde hits, which is going to be the end of October, even though we're going in the shadow of 11th, which always gets me very kind of like important, that you kind of like take care of the things, everything that you kind of like needs, maybe documentation, signing up contracts, because you're going to be very affected, and it's going to feel like it is very difficult to kind of like deal with that after that time, right? So because everything is like most of the month handling in your 5th house, and you have Good Kitty, meaning you paid it forward, you follow your lessons, you dealt with this, enjoy it. So even though you're going to feel like at some point I need to kind of put everything in order, I kind of like really need to deal with this, right? It kind of like does look like that things are finally progressing with 2 major arcanas, both kind of like belonging to Pluto, both belonging to basically Scorpio, and with everything that is happening in your 5th house, again from October 4th to November 19th, right? Also, you have a Venus kind of like riding until I believe October 8th. So it's almost like talking about lovebirds or cosmic lovebirds, right? And this is a really good opportunity to kind of balance that energy. You know how you have this like 2 faces, sometimes they're looking toward each other, sometimes they're looking away. It's almost like yin and yang. And if you're single, guys, and if you didn't notice that there were people kind of like brewing or chasing after you, you're going to meet somebody who is not only attractive, but exactly on your wavelength, right? So this is a really good combination. And even though we find these pentacles in water, it's like, oh my God, are we there yet? Kind of a thing. It is like something that is ensuring longevity, because Libra has kind of like glamorous vibes, right? And you're going to feel lusty. Maybe friends with benefits is going to end up, ta-da, you're going to be a mom, you're going to be a dad, and all of a sudden, oh my goodness, what's going on? Let's plan. So enjoy what you can enjoy, right? So just keep in mind that certain things can really happen, and also keep in mind that because of that, maybe you will need to organize and start to organizing when it hits your 6th house, and kind of like deal with this. This is incredibly positive. However, I do have to tell you, this is not going to be continuation of what you have been going through right now. It's not going to be, oh, I'm already on this road, I'm driving. This is like, kind of like, I don't need to change the tires. Oh, I feel more comfortable. This clearly says stop, look, assess. And you maybe want to breathe a fresh kind of like life into something. There was like something that maybe you have already started, but maybe somebody's patiently waiting for you over here, or you're patiently waiting for someone. You kind of are maybe in a situation that is very uncomfortable for you. Maybe you're even saying, it's freaking over, I don't want to deal with that. I mean, we air signs are like that. Hey, you didn't call me in 2 seconds. Well, you don't like me, right? So other people are not like that. And especially when it starts going in the shadow around the 11th, lots of miscommunications, lots of things can happen. You might send from these 2 kind of like admirers wrong message to somebody, and then you go, oh my gosh, how do I deal with this? So Geminis, you might get engaged, you might get pregnant, you might get a fabulous job, you might get promotion, you might be proposed to. But with all of this good news, there's going to be something, very, very something, this core over here, that is going to need to transform. It's not going to be what it was, and it has to change, or otherwise it's going to force you to change in the following months. So which way is going to be? Are you going to change and just enjoy everything the karma prepared for you, or are you not going to? I'm looking forward to getting your comments, and I really hope, guys, you continue to click and share, because you did manage to kind of like resurrect yourself from the bottom of my reading list to almost like to the top, and this is lovely, guys. And also to get a reading with me, katetarot.ca, I'm available, or shoot me an email. All the info is down in the description. Gemini, I love you. You're going to be a tool, fun to be with, but there's going to be something, as I said, that maybe patience is going to be really important, and things will be developing in a much different way than you imagined, that you hoped for, or that you even thought it can kind of evolve this way. So keep that in mind. All the best, guys, and have some sex from me too. Okay, love you.